David here. I'm the General Manager for OS Production. I'm here to advise you that after nearly 2 years of bargaining, and more recently a series of conferences in the Fair Work Commission, the business has decided to put a new enterprise agreement to you for a ballot. Our bargaining with the union and individual bargaining representatives has made a lot of progress in the Fair Work Commission, but even with the best of intentions, we have not been able to reach a final agreement on every matter with the bargaining representatives. There is still an impasse on a number of matters, including the scope of any agreement with two unions and the inclusion of some policies in the agreement. After hearing your feedback over the past month, we believe it's time for you to have your say on a package offer. This video sets out the details of the package offer both within the proposed agreement and the sign-on proposals outside the agreement. The package offer in summary, 1, is for a national OS production agreement. If the agreement is approved by you, the unions can still decide to be covered by the agreement, and we would encourage them to do so. 2, it includes all the changes we agreed with the bargaining representatives both over the past 2 years and in the conferences in the Fair Work Commission. And 3, includes a sign-on bonus of $5,000 if the agreement is approved by the majority of employees in this ballot and then by the Fair Work Commission. I encourage you to listen to the details and make a positive decision to approve the agreement. We recognise that it has been some time to get to this point, but we have heard you that you want this resolved. So I ask you now to consider the following explanation of the terms of the proposed agreement and effects of those terms. Further detail regarding the agreement, the effect of the terms of the agreement, and how the agreement compares against the award will be provided to you in this session. These documents will also be available via our online information hub at www.bhp.com/OSEA or on request by email at osea@bhp.com. If you have questions about the terms of the agreement, check your voting pack and direct your questions to your superintendent or send an email to osea@bhp.com. We have also provided you with access to additional documentation to read so you can make an informed vote in the upcoming ballot. I recommend the agreement for your approval.
The purpose of this presentation is to ensure that all employees understand the terms and effects of the agreement we put to you for approval, including what is in the offer and the timing and steps involved in the ballot process. You will have the opportunity to ask questions at the end of the presentation. The offer we are proposing strikes the right balance between locking in benefits that have the greatest impact to our employees and ensuring a sustainable future for OS. Your EA includes continuation of some existing terms and conditions you said were key for you. The full range of these can be found in the explanatory material. New terms that we have inserted as a result of bargaining, the conferences in the Fair Work Commission, and from feedback we have received from you, the employees and the union bargaining representatives. So what are the key changes in the new terms and conditions in OS package offer? They are an agreement term that applies for almost 4 years, new terms that ensure your contract salary is not affected by the commencement of this agreement, does not fall below your current salary unless you change to a roster or a position with a different salary. This will be discussed with you. Never goes backwards, only forwards for the life of the agreement, and minimum salary guarantee of 5% more than the award. New travel and accommodation arrangements guaranteed for the term of the agreement, including paid flights for fly-in and fly-out employees and allowances for commute and residential employees. Payout of unused personal sick or carers leave on termination of employment, unless for serious misconduct, terminations within probation, or where your balance transfers to a new employer. Inclusion of the BHP Group policies on family and domestic violence assistance, parental leave and public community service. Access to BHP Super co-contributions. BHP redundancy payments for any redundancies for the term of the agreement. a new term that ensures shift changeovers are included in rostered hours and are paid. Removing casual employment from the agreement and confirming movement between hubs will be by agreement only. Additionally, if the EA is approved in the ballot and subsequently final approval by the Fair Work Commission, there is a flat lump sum payment of $5,000. I will now take you through more details on each of the things. For full details though, please read the ballot packs which explain on each provision in the proposed agreement. If approved by the ballot, the Fair Work Commission, the term of the agreement will run for almost 4 years. In accordance with the Fair Work Act, the term of the agreement will commence 7 days after the date of approval of the agreement by the Fair Work Commission. This is a legal requirement. The term of the agreement will cease 4 years after the date of approval of the agreement by the Fair Work Commission. After completion of the term of the agreement under current legislation, the agreement will continue to operate until termination or replacement. However, some terms of the agreement are not locked in after the 4-year term unless they are included after bargaining for the new agreement. These are annual salaries not being reduced, the BHP Group Parental Leave Policy, the BHP Group Public Service Leave Policy, the BHP Group Family Domestic Violence Support Policy, travel and accommodation benefits, the BHP Group Redundancy Termination Australia Policy. The main way we compensate you is outside of the EA, per your employment contract. The EA affords you further protection above the awards. Firstly, Clause 7 of the agreement will guarantee that the commencement of this agreement and for the term of the agreement, your contract salary will not be affected unless sometime in the future you change roles or rosters. Secondly, Clause 7 adds to the above protections and provides that, even after the term of the agreement has expired, until the agreement is replaced or rescinded, your salary will never fall below the above award guarantee or AAG. In addition, you will be paid overtime rates for unrostered overtime that you are directed to work. Thirdly, we have simplified the above award guarantee or AAG. The above award guarantee is a guarantee that the annual salary payable to you for your roster will be at least 5% more under the award. The hubs are an important part of our business model. It allows us to offer full-time permanent employment to a level our competitors do not. It helps remove the need for us to keep access to and use casual employment. The business and our employees have already seen the benefits of our hub model through the end of the deployments at South Walker Creek and Portrell mines. Employees will still be employed to work within a hub as directed by the company from time to time. We have clarified the hubs. The relevant hubs are East Coast Hub, which provides all mining operations in Queensland or New South Wales, at which OS provides services now or in the future. West Australian Hub, which includes the mining operations in Western Australia, at which OS provides services now or in the future. South Australia Hub, which includes all mining operations in South Australia, at which OS provides services now or in the future. And any other region OS designates as a hub in the future. Unless agreed between you and OS, at least 14 days notice will be provided where an employee is required by OS to change deployment within their hub. Terms and conditions of employment will be reviewed in light of any change in responsibilities in the event of a change of deployment, but will remain at least as beneficial as set out in this agreement. We have heard your concerns and have specified in the agreement transfer between hubs for example, east to west or west to east, will only be by agreement with the employee. OS production employees are employed to work within a hub as directed by OS from time to time. As a result, employees are not employed to work in a single location or site and are able to choose where to reside. In our business, we have employees who have chosen to reside in the local area or reside in a safe commute distance or use fly-in, fly-out arrangements. We have heard you and your bargaining representatives that you want travel arrangements locked in. Travel and accommodation assistance for the term of the agreement will be provided on the conditions set out in the agreement. In summary, these are: a local employee is an employee who resides within a radius of the site in which they can reasonably drive or bus to the site each day where they are rostered to work. Local employees will travel to and from site each day that they perform work by their own means and at their own expense, or, where applicable, on company-funded ground transport. Local employees will be paid a local allowance of $6,000 per year, paid in fortnightly instalments. A commute employee lives outside the daily driving radius from which it is reasonably practical to drive or bus in and out of the site for each swing. OS will provide commute employees with single person's village or other accommodation during the rostered swing of work, transport to and from site and accommodation each day that they perform work as directed, a travel allowance of $5,000 per year paid in fortnightly instalments for incidental costs incurred while travelling to and from their residence. OS will provide non-local fly-in, fly-out employees who are employees who are not local or cannot commute with single person's village or other accommodation assisted by OS during the rostered swing of work, air transport between points nominated by OS and the local area in return in accordance with timetables set out by OS. At the commencement of this agreement, the nominated departure points are: for the East Coast Hub, Brisbane; for the West Australian Hub, Perth; for the South Australian Hub, Adelaide. Travel to and from site from the accommodation each day that they perform work as directed. There are conditions on these arrangements. Details are in the agreement. In summary, you will only receive one of these benefits: local or commute or fly-in, fly-out. Employees will comply with the journey management plan and fatigue requirements of any site. Employees must abide by the rules and regulations of OS and the operator as amended from time to time. Disruptive behaviour and/or breaching rules and regulations will invoke removal of accommodation and/or travel rights. Non-local and commute employees travelling to the local area to commence a shift roster may be required to travel outside of their rostered shifts. An employee must travel on the scheduled transport that is allocated to the employee. In circumstances where an employee, for any reason other than directed by OS, does not travel at the allocated time, it will be the employee's responsibility to provide alternative means of transport at the employee's cost. Where that is not possible, it may result in the employee being ineligible to work that rostered shift and no payment will be provided for that shift. We have amended the proposed agreement in 4 key areas. Firstly, the agreement specifies that the rostered shift includes hot seat changes. They will be completed as directed at the start and end of the shift in company time. Secondly, employees are entitled to be paid meal breaks and rest breaks of 30 minutes for every 5 hours worked, and reasonable time taken to travel to or from the area designated by OS for crib will be counted as time worked and paid but will not be counted as part of the meal break. Thirdly, we have included a minimum break of 10 hours between shifts. Finally, we have included notice provisions for certain roster changes. 1 week's notice of any change to an employee's place on a roster unless otherwise agreed with the employee. 1 week's notice before implementing any change to ordinary starting and finishing times for an employee's roster or a change to start and finishing places on site, unless there are operational requirements that require a shorter period of notice to be given, or the company and the employee otherwise agree. Whilst not included in the agreement, we will pay a cash bonus of $5,000 gross. This bonus is a flat rate lump sum payment and will only be paid if this ballot is successful, this agreement is approved by the Fair Work Commission, payment will be made in the first pay period following final approval of the agreement. Accrued but untaken personal sick or carers leave will be paid out on exit, except where the exit is a result of serious misconduct, the employee is within probation, the personal sick or carers leave transfers to a new employer, e.g. if an OS employee accepts a role with BHP WAIO, their personal or carers leave would transfer rather than be paid out. This means, except for employees within probation, unused personal sick or carers leave will be paid out on resignation, retirement, separation for death or ill health, redundancy, or dismissal, except where the dismissal is for serious misconduct. Any non-rostered employees can volunteer to work on Christmas Day and Boxing Day. In the event that OS decides to utilise volunteers on Christmas Day and or Boxing Day, employees who volunteer to work and are required by OS will do so. They will receive triple time for all work performed. Employees who are rostered to perform statutory functions or ERT mine rescue functions and employees on critical path functions must do so in accordance with their roster. For the term of the agreement, we have included provision in the agreement for the BHP Redundancy Termination Australia policy to be included into the agreement. Under the BHP Redundancy Terminations Australia policy, the redundancy pay schedule is currently calculated at a rate of 14 weeks base salary plus 2.5 weeks base salary per year of continuous service, prorated for completion of months of service. The policy may be amended from time to time, but the redundancy payments under the agreement will not be less than the payments under the policy when the EA commences. Any payment under clause 32.9 is inclusive of any statutory entitlement an employee may have to severance or redundancy or retrenchment pay. With reference to superannuation co-contributions, we have included a provision to give you access to the BHP matched superannuation arrangements as per the current policy. It is voluntary and not compulsory. Subject to your voluntary contributions, BHP can increase its superannuation contribution up to 14%. There are other changes that we have made to meet the concerns of the bargaining representatives in the original agreement we tabled when bargaining commenced. These include inclusion of group policies on family and domestic violence assistance, parental leave and public community service leave. We have agreed to remove all casual employment references. We will not use casual employment for the term of this agreement. We have agreed to remove OS ability to make site-specific EAs in place of this EA. This EA will apply to all work covered in the scope. We have included a clause that while employers are required to undertake all duties as reasonably directed by OS that are within their skill and competence where required by law to be authorised, they must be authorised. Overtime or time off in lieu for training attended in non-rostered hours. Changes requested by the bargaining representatives for 10-hour breaks. We have agreed to lock in fortnightly pays. We have agreed to changes requested by the bargaining representatives to include a provision for employees to apply for leave without pay. We have agreed to changes requested by the bargaining representatives to include model consultation clause. We have agreed to changes requested by the bargaining representatives to include the model flexibility clause. We have agreed to changes requested by the bargaining representatives to remove stand aside without pay if the employee is positively participating in the investigations. We have agreed to a cap of 6 months continuous service for probationary employees. We have inserted an inclement weather clause. We have included an issue resolution process for resolving issues which relate to matters arising under the agreement or the National Employment Standards. Details are in the agreement and the explanatory documents. OS production employees who are covered by the proposed agreement have the opportunity to vote to accept the enterprise agreement. We have engaged an independent third-party provider, Corp Vote, to conduct an electronic ballot. You can vote via phone or internet. To lodge your vote, you will require your employee number and your date of birth. Your employee number can be found on your employee payslip or your site access TAMS card. Voting instructions and access to the following materials are available to you on your email. These materials include a copy of the proposed EA, this video, a list of external documents referred to in the EA and access arrangements, a list of internal documents referred to in the EA and access arrangements, an explanation of the terms of the EA and their effects, a set of question and answers on the agreement and the process. Voting will open at 6 a.m. Queensland time, 6:30 a.m. South Australian time on Monday the 20th of March 2023 and will close at 10 a.m. Queensland time, 10:30 a.m. South Australian time on Friday the 24th of March 2023. Only votes successfully lodged between those dates will be counted. You are only able to vote once, and all votes are registered anonymously. The ballot is approved if more than 50% of the persons who make a valid vote approve the agreement. We will make sure the results of the vote will be available to you shortly after the end of the ballot period. If the agreement is accepted by the employee ballot, we will lodge the enterprise agreement with the Fair Work Commission for approval. If you have any questions, please ask them now. If we cannot provide an answer now, we will take it on notice and get back to you, or you can post a question on the website by using the QR code and we will get back to you. If you have questions about the terms of the agreement after today, or if you need any additional support to assist you to understand the agreement, please let your supervisor know. Alternatively, you can call the hotline or send an email to osea@bhp.com or use the QR code and we will get back to you.